welcome to the Coming Strength and Fitness podcast. And we're back on this episode. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Coming Strength and Fitness podcast. I'm your host, Alex, and I have my main woman, my wingman, my co-pilot,
Wing woman,
the one driving this ship, Jill Thornton. Jill, how are you?
I'm doing excellent today. It's a beautiful fall day outside, and I just love it, but I don't want it to really get below 60.
Jill, can you tell everybody what tattoo you have on your bicep right now?
I haven't put it on yet, but I will tell you the one that's coming. So I was at Starbucks this morning, and they are giving away pumpkin spice tattoos for your body. And there was one on there that just spelled out the word spicy, and I'm going to put that one on my bicep.
If that's not the most Jill Thornton thing you've ever heard, that made me smile and laugh so much today.
Or maybe I make it a neck tattoo that just says spicy on my neck.
Wow.
You know? Yeah.
So I think I should pivot our competition, which we're going to talk about, and actually put tattoos in the competition prize bag. So every winner can actually have spicy tattoos in their prize bag.
I like it.
This has nothing to do with the content of our talk today, but I thought it was a fun way to open up. Jill, we're talking about competitions and specifically training for one on all the pieces that go into it. What am I thinking about? What's the win? How do I taper? Do I taper? Do I change my workouts? What do the up to 7 days look like? Mm-hmm. Do I do a team competition? Do I do RX or scaled? A lot of questions are just revolving around just competition, because what's cool about our sport here, Jill, is it's both a training program and a sport. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of confusion that comes between the two, but it is really cool that once you do increase levels of fitness, and if you do want to transfer into a competition just to test, it is a really, really cool event to participate in. And I would encourage anyone who's been in the CrossFit realm for at least 6 months to at least try one in your lifetime. Not just saying this, everyone has to, but it is such a fun, revealing, community, competitive event that if this is something that you enjoy, I'd highly recommend, which is why we're talking about it today.
Exactly. And we have one coming up. So
we do have one coming up. By the time this one drops, it's probably going to be in about a month. So hopefully timing. That this helps people just kind of think about their training program and how to train for a competition. So Jill, just to get us started, we're talking about a local CrossFit competition. And when I say local CrossFit competition, there are bigger CrossFit competitions in the CrossFit world in different states and different countries that professionals will train at. But what we're specifically talking about is a local CrossFit gym like ourselves hosting a one-day event that typically has 3-ish workouts on a team, and it's one day it's done.
Yep.
So that is what we mean by a local CrossFit competition. And for our context, we host the CSNF Thanksgiving Throwdown, which is a team event, 3 events, one day on a Saturday at our gym to test people's fitness. It's supposed to be fun, and it's supposed to be competitive, and hopefully a well-organized event.
Always well-organized.
Well-organized. Yeah. Jill, what is your CrossFit competition background before we of get going?
Gosh, it's lengthy.
How many competitions do you think you've done?
Over 20.
You think so?
Yeah. I mean, I've been to Wadapalooza, I think 6 or 7 times, both teams and individual.
What's Wadapalooza?
It is probably the second largest CrossFit competition in the country, second to the games, I would say.
I would agree with that.
So I've done that one. I've done Granite Games. I've done Fittest Experience. I've done a lot of the big ones. And then I've done a lot of local ones too. So I kind of have experience in both arenas.
We've also been on a team multiple times together doing local ones.
So we do pretty good.
It's been fun.
Yeah.
So you're speaking from both a professional coach experience and a personal level.
Absolutely.
So that's where we're kind of coming from. And in context, for myself as well, being in CrossFit for over a decade, both a coach and athlete, I've probably done close to 15 to 20 myself in both the local level up to Wadapalooza as well. So just kind of talking about some things that we've picked up over the years, Jill.
Yeah.
So typically when we talk about a local CrossFit competition, most of the time it's going to be a team, whether partners, 3, or we like to do super teams, but most of the time only 2 or 3 people working at a time. But one of the big questions that we have to think about right now is, what's the win? What's the purpose? Why am I even doing this?
That's where you want to start.
That's where we want to start, Jill. Talk to us about that.
So when you get ready to sign up for a competition, you want to ask yourself that question, because that's going to lead you to which division you sign up for and which competition you sign up for and things of that nature. So think to yourself, as a CrossFitter, as a person that does fitness, what would my goal be here? Am I going to go and try to beat everybody at fitness? Or am I going to have fun with my friends on a team? And there's no right or wrong answer there, but each person has to determine what it is that their goal is going into the competition.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Jill, for someone who has been at our gym or in another CrossFit gym in the local area for maybe about a year, 6 months to a year, what would you recommend they think about is their win or their purpose of why they're doing a CrossFit competition?
I mean, I think it's similar to trying anything new for the first time.
Yes.
You're just doing it for the experience.
Yes.
You're not going to try and win anything. If you do, that's just the cherry on top.
Yeah.
But you're going in for the experience and to see what it's like, to try
Yes.
it out, to toe the water.
I would say one of the big wins after that is, what did you learn?
Completion.
Completion, execution, and then learning, education is, what did you learn about your body? What did you learn about your capacity? Because a lot of times you will push yourself much differently in a competition setting than an actual normal class or normal workout in your garage setting, which is really cool because on competition day, there's the adrenaline, there's a crowd, and when you go to lift or you go to run or try to sprint on that rower, you just are like, wow, I didn't know I could go that fast or lift that heavy.
Favorite part. That's my favorite part about competing.
It's super cool. So Jill, talking about a local CrossFit competition, specifically the Thanksgiving Throwdown, we actually have 3 divisions. We have RX, Scaled, and Masters. But the main 2 I want to target are RX and Scaled.
Yeah.
If I am a newer athlete or just kind of thinking about how do I pick which one, what's the purpose, like what are some thoughts I should be thinking about as far as division?
Yeah, that's really good. That's a great question. So I would start with, how often are you doing RX or Scaled at your gym?
Yeah.
If you were most of the time doing Scaled, then I would choose Scaled division for sure. Obviously, that's a great option for anyone in their first competition too. If you are doing most of the workouts at your gym as prescribed, RX, with great movement of standards of movement and things of that nature, then you might want to give the RX a shot. The other thing to think about is a lot of competitions, including ours, will release the workouts ahead of time.
Yes.
So if you can look at the workout and determine whether or not that's going to be something you can or can't do, that'll determine which division you pick too.
Exactly. I mean, we were chatting before this, and let's say our competition does have toes to bar. If we do not have toes to bar, competition day is not the day to try to get toes to bar.
It's not the day.
A prerequisite to do RX is to have all the movements down. Once you can actually do them, okay, then competition day is to test where we are, the level of fitness.
Yes.
But if I'm trying to get my first toes to bar, and the workout requires rounds of 10 toes to bar, I would probably start with Scaled. And then my next goal is, if you enjoyed it, okay, hey, maybe our next goal in the next 6 months or year when I do my next local CrossFit competition is to do RX and train for my toes to bar so that I can do that. So
Yes.
I like, what are you doing majority of your workouts, and what are the prerequisites of the movements? Can you do all of them? If great, okay, maybe you can't string together 10, but if you can do 2, 3, or 4, or 5, I would actually encourage you to do RX because you're going to push yourself a little bit more than a normal day, and you might surprise yourself.
Sure. I like that.
Jill, let's talk about the actual training element, because the next episode that we're going to have is going to be more about the nutrition side. But we're talking more about the fitness side. What are we actually doing with our bodies training-wise? Let's say that we are 2 to 3 months out from this local competition, or maybe even a month out. What am I thinking about, and what am I doing in regards to my training to prepare for this competition?
Not much. You're not doing much. I mean,
Right.
When it comes to competitions that are local, you're going to see a lot of similar workouts that you're going to see on a daily basis at your CrossFit box. So going out and training to, squat clean, heavy, and do rope climbs and handstand walking all the time, and those things aren't even in the competition you're doing, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. I would say the best approach is just keep doing what you're doing, stay healthy. And maybe attack some of your daily workouts a little different mentally in terms of pushing intensity. Because like you said, the biggest difference in a competition and a workout at your gym on a Friday is the level of push.
It's intensity.
It is so different.
Yeah.
It's the biggest difference. You can do Fran here in a certain time, and then you can do Fran on a stage with lights and a DJ in a very different time.
It's true.
I remember doing that at Wadapalooza. It was actually a biking Fran with chest to bar.
Oh, man.
And the thrusters were 85, and by the end, I couldn't lock my elbows out. On an 85, I was done. My CNS was just shook.
Word.
I pushed so hard. But any other day, that's a normal thing,
Sure.
right? So the level of intensity is what you really need to prepare for. So I'd say maybe 2 times a week, really, really trying to push yourself intensely. intensity-wise. But
Yes.
movement-wise, you're not going to see much of a difference.
I would 100% agree with that. Because here's what's different and unique about CrossFit competitions versus other competitions. Let's say an Olympic weightlifting competition. You know you're going to have 3 attempts at the clean and jerk and the snatch.
And that's why I love weightlifting. It's so predictable.
It's predictable. Where, sure, our competition is predictable too because you know what workouts to train for. But when it comes to CrossFit, there are a lot of different elements as far as movements. And when you get better at CrossFit, you will get better at the competition side of CrossFit too. It's not like I need to specialize my training in non-CrossFit modalities to get better at CrossFit. It's kind of like if you've ever followed some of the big names, specifically Rich Froning, he always gets made fun of. He's like, wait, you're not doing CrossFit. He's like, no, I'm doing CrossFit to get better at CrossFit, at the CrossFit Games. It's just a different level of intensity there.
Yeah.
So I would say for the majority of people doing a local competition, very, very minimal has to change as far as their local, as far as their typical training schedule. But let's talk about when the workouts are released. So for example, our competition, the workouts are released. Do you test them? How often do you test them? Do you not? I don't think there's a right or wrong, but there's some things we can talk about as far as...
Let's talk about both sides of the coin.
Yes.
Yes. So testing the workouts. Your takeaway from that is going to be you can gain some insight into strategy, how you want to break things up, and also get a good understanding of how that might feel on game day. Now, remember, training inside the gym is not going to feel the same. It's going to feel much more intense on game day. But there are some good takeaways from practicing a workout. Also, if you're on a team, if there's any synchronization required in a competition, practicing that is a really good idea.
Now, just give us context really quick. When you say synchronization, what does that mean?
It's when you and a partner or two are doing the movement at the same pace, and there's a standard to where something has to be in synchronization. So, for instance, like a burpee, everybody's chest has to be on the floor at the same time. So there's a lot of timing and strategy and teamwork involved in a lot of these team workouts.
Yeah, because that's probably the only unique nuance to competition versus normal class, because we're not judging people in class saying no rep, all that stuff.
Right.
But in a competition, you do have a judge holding you to a standard, which is why synchronizing this or entering your lane here and exiting the lane there. Yeah, there's some of those different like logistical pieces, but you're still doing CrossFit.
And I can tell you from experience, the worm that we did at Wadapalooza, I don't remember how much it weighed, and I think you saw this. We did not practice as a team, and I'm pretty sure that worm got dropped on my head.
Yep.
And so just, practicing synchronization is a good idea. That's super easy, though. You could even do that just a few minutes before the workout.
Exactly.
But that's the side of the coin where you test the workout. The flip side to that is I have experienced this in the past. If I test something and I know how bad it hurts, it creates a little bit more anxiety before the workout comes up on game day, just because you're like, oh, I know this is going to be so bad.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of half and half on what I test and what I don't, just depending on what it is.
And the way I filter, I'm kind of with you too. Some I do, some I don't. And the way I filter if I do, if I don't, is kind of the type of workout. If it is a more strategy-based, synchro-based, something I need to have a good game plan on, I'm going to test that because I typically will do better the second time because I have a plan, because I've experienced it the first time. But if it is just a capacity, put your head down and grunt work type workout, for example, like the open workouts, 21-15, 12-9, 6-3 of thrusters and burpees. There's not much strategy to that. I'm just going to go. I'm just going to hold on the barbell and push into that pain cave. I'm not testing that because I know it's going to hurt. But like I said, on the other side, if it is like 3 rounds and then one person switches after you do this, like we want to get timing and synchronization down. So we're probably going to test that.
Sure.
Probably not at the intensity you're going to do at game day, but at least kind of getting...
It always feels so different.
It does. It does. Which is another tip for game day is be ready to call audibles and be ready to throw your plan out the window, because when you have a team of 3...
plan C and D,
you
for
do.
sure. Yes.
So just hold those expectations lightly.
Yes.
So it really does depend on those, on what kind of workouts they are. So Jill, let's say we are 7 days out from our competition. Okay. So today is Saturday, and next Saturday in 7 days, it is game day. I think these next 7 days are probably the most important as far as preparing for training. What do you typically do in those 7 days to kind of lead up to it?
Yeah. So I think a common mistake people make is they try to get fitter and stronger in the 7 days leading up to the competition. A little bit of panic sets in.
Yeah. Oh shoot, I haven't been training. I got to cram it in. You cannot cram fitness.
Don't do that.
You cannot cram fitness.
You cannot cram fitness. You can cram for an exam, but not for fitness. So the hay's in the barn. Like the
Hayes
work
in the
is
barn.
done. You are not going to get fitter or stronger in a week. But what you can do on the other side of that is wreck your CNS, get really sore, tax your systems, and then not be prepared for game day. So
Now, I want to clarify what you just said, so I'm going to pause you. You said wreck your CSNS and wreck your systems.
Yeah.
Give us, what do you mean? Like,
So
give us clarity there.
you can overtrain, obviously. And if you've been training and pushing that intensity a little bit more leading up into the week before, and then you continue to do that, your central nervous system can be subpar for game
Yeah.
day. And you want it elevated, and you want it not elevated, you want it healthy and ready to go.
Fresh.
Healthy and ready to go on game day, because that's the system that's going to take you through all the workouts.
So really quick, I actually just had a conversation with an athlete about that, because many people have a subconscious notion of working out that it's just muscles. I just have to increase my muscles and get my muscles healthy. When it comes to CrossFit, you're using everything. And when I say everything, sometimes your heart and your lungs are more important than the muscles in the workout. Sometimes it's what's called your CNS, your central nervous system, because that is the system from your brain telling your muscles to contract and lift the load. So what you're saying is those neurons, those signals, those little pipes going to your muscles that are giving those signals to contract, those can get burnt out.
Sure.
Which is why on like a heavy back squat day, your legs may not be super sore, but you just feel not fresh. You just feel fatigued. We don't want that leading up to game day.
Right.
You want to keep your what's called your central nervous system fresh.
Yes.
Just to give some clarity. Sorry.
Yeah. So like I said, hay is in the barn, the work has been done. So a really good strategy would be, train normally Monday and Tuesday. Don't do anything that's going to make you sore on Friday.
Yes.
Like you kind of know what volume of air squats or push-ups or even like GHDs or sit-ups would do to leave you really sore for a few days. Maybe pull back on that a little bit.
Yeah.
When it comes to Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, let's assume the competition is on Saturday. You start a small taper. Don't stop moving.
Right.
That's actually not a great idea.
Right.
Continue to move, but kind of pull your foot off the gas.
Yes.
In terms of loads and in terms of intensity. Maybe take a day where all you're doing is lifts or low intensity, steady state movement for 30 to 45 minutes. Zone 2 heart rate. You're not doing anything crazy. You're not taxing your central nervous system or your muscle groups, but you're moving and sweating.
Yeah.
And then the day before, maybe you get a little body work done, eat a little extra food, do some mobility and things like that. Go for a walk, but we're not going to do anything super taxing the day before the competition.
Exactly. I mean, that is pretty much what I specifically do. Let's say it's Saturday. I rest on Sunday. I do my normal, what I would do any Monday or Tuesday. Unless I know I'm going to do 150 GHDs, I'm going to be super sore. I'm going to just be smart. If I'm going to do a bunch of squatting, I'm going to cut back. Like you said, take your foot off the gas just a little bit.
Yeah.
Where I'm still going to push intensity, but I'm not going to be super sore.
Right.
Wednesday, kind of back off a little bit. Thursday, like you said, I'm intentionally on Thursday going to do, my go-to workout on Thursday is around 30 to 45, maybe 50 minutes of honestly 1 minute on, 1 minute off of machines of just bike, row, run. Because I'm going to get out of breath. I'm going to sweat. It's going to kind of push some of that lactic acid out and keep my muscles, the blood flowing to the muscles, but I know I'm not going to be sore. Kind of exactly what you said.
Yeah.
And then on Friday, I'm not working out. I'm probably going on long walks. I'm staying moving, but a lot of body work, a lot of mobility, and a lot of foam rolling, maybe even deep tissue massage.
Take a nap.
Yes, take a nap. And we'll talk next episode about fueling and nutrition side. But the thing I was going to add to this is the reason you don't want a big taper off is because science has shown that within 2 to 3 days, you will see diminishing returns if you don't do anything when it comes to your cardio. So 2 to 3 months, your strength maintains. 2 to 3 weeks, your muscular endurance sort of maintains. But 2 to 3 days, if you don't do anything, you'll start to see diminishing returns. So you're training for 3 days, and all of a sudden you don't train for a week. You're going to be absolutely gassed because you need to be fresh that game day,
Right.
which is why we need to stay moving, but be smart with a slight taper before then, and then you hit that game day.
Yep. It's not stopping. It's just taking your foot off the gas. Yeah.
So, Jill, as we kind of round third and come to the end of this conversation, let's talk about we wake up Saturday. Competition starts at 8 a.m. What are just some things that are going through your mind? What are things that we're doing? Maybe even game day of. There's 3 events. Let's say we're going at 9:30, 11:30, and 1:30. How do we just think about day of?
Well, I mean, you just want to make sure you're prepared, especially with how far you have to travel to your competition. Make sure that you've packed plenty of food and hydration for your day. Make sure you have a chair to sit in between events. Pack your foam roller, all your mobility tools and things like that, and extra clothes. A lot of people forget that. If you're going to sweat, so be prepared to change. You don't want to sit around swampy
That's
all
good.
day, basically.
I always bring an extra pair of socks because it it just feels so good. Afterwards, you just take your socks and shoes off,
Yes.
and then I'm like, oh, fresh pair. It's like you don't put those sweaty socks back
Yeah,
on.
so kind of plan it like you're camping out for the day.
Yeah.
In terms of food and clothing and things of that nature. And then really, again, the hay's in the barn. You're not going to do anything extra on that day. You do want to
Right.
make sure that you warm up before the workout.
Right.
I will say some of the larger competitions like Wadapalooza, you warm up and then you stand in the corrals for 40 minutes. So it really doesn't make sense.
It's hard.
A whole lot of sense there. But here at CSNF, you're going to warm up and almost go straight to the floor, which is a great thing. That's
Yes,
what
it
you
is.
want. So just make sure that you're warming up properly, getting your heart rate up, like going for a walk or jog or getting on a machine for a little bit and making
Yes.
sure all the correct muscle groups are ready to go.
And the only tip I would give, 2 tips I thought of on game day is one, the shorter the workout, the longer the warm up. The longer the workout, the shorter the warm up is just a general tip.
The older you are, the longer you're warm.
The older you are, sure. The second tip I thought of is at least on workout 1 and 2, I am trying to find a bike afterwards to just slowly
Yes.
pedal for 5, 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Because I know the intensity I'm going to bring on workout 2 and 3 is going to require my muscles to stay fresh. And if I just sit there, especially after a quad intense workout, which a lot of local competition workouts are, after workout 1, by workout 3, I'm toast. But
Yes.
if I can stay moving, get the blood flowing, just hop on a bike slowly and control my breathing, that recovery piece is very, very, very important. Would you agree to that?
I would agree with that 100%.
Jill, that's all I got as far as just some general tips to think about training for a local competition. Do you
Yeah.
got anything else?
One other thing I'll point out is like if you think about the time domains of a local competition, you've got a 10-minute workout, a 12-minute workout, maybe a 20-minute workout. You're
Right.
talking about maybe total 40 minutes of exercise.
Right.
And for many people, that's shorter than a class time here at CSNF. So it's not that you're going to be doing a whole lot more than you're
Right.
used to. It's the intensity.
Yes.
You will be so sore from a workout that would never make you sore only because of how hard you're going to push, which
Right.
is the fun part about it.
It is. It is cool. And I just like what you learn, what you surprise yourself with, what you're able to do in competition versus a normal class. So I would encourage you guys, whether you don't want to compete, just come check it out.
Yeah.
Go check out a different local competition. There are many around the state, the country, the world. So it is super fun. If you have any other specific questions, please reach out. But we just want to kind of share some big tips about training for a CrossFit competition and fitness. Next episode, we're going to talk about the exact same thing, but as far as nutrition, because
What to not eat Taco Bell before you compete.
is there a story there, Jill?
I have a personal story. Yes.
So
I'll
we're
tell
going
you
to
all
talk.
about it.
We're going to talk the nutrition side. But until then, we hope you have a great one. And until then, Jill,
You're a legend.
you're a legend. See ya.